Houston, our instruments are showing that we have a incoming message from deep space. Repeat, Houston, we have an incoming message from deep space. Houston, we'll begin playing message now. Houston, we're going to try and translate that up here. Hold for translation. Translation complete. We'll begin playing message now.
Hey, it's me, Melissa.
What do you do when the aliens invade? Take a shot of MK Ultra and watch Melissa Jade. Put on your tinfoil hat and tune right in. We got their crime spree, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, a complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, where it all bends understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Aliens is on the sun or in Area 51. Time travels, unravels, haunted castles, cops are baffled, potential experimental thoughts that make you transcendental. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Crime sprees, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all bends understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa.
Hi, guys. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Meat Feets. Pointer Lover. So good to see you. Hi, 87. Hey, Shaq. Ashley Oaks. Mary Jane. Crime Sleuthin. Maria. Headphones. Kelly Ann. OCD Shaggy. B Crumbs. Sherry Hill. Sherry GB. Candy Cane, Dumplings Gammy. Hi, guys. How are you guys? My Snot Rocket. I'm trying to drop my Snot Rockets link for anybody who is interested in Nadi's amazing wax melts. You get 20% off with the promo code Conspiracy Queen. And seriously, she has the most fabulous melts you could ever imagine. They make your entire home, apartment, whatever, smell just delicious for days. And if anybody needs suggestions, I could tell you what my favorites are. Oh, nay. I know. I sorry, guys. I kind of disappeared. Shit's been crazy. I've been doing my best, but I figured, there it is. I'm telling you. I got my strawberry cupcakes going, and it smells so good. Hi, Pepper. But I missed you all. I figured I'd come on for a little bit because I wanted to discuss what was going on. Dude, Meatfoot, honestly, it's not one of those things where friends are just hyping up friends because they like each other. Her wax melts are legit amazing. They just really, really are. Hi, Kaleido. Ashley Oaks. I know I missed you all so much. I apologize, but I'm back. I am here. And I wanted to touch base since we last left off with the Delphi stuff. And I wanted to get your guys' feedback. Days have passed, and I really just wanted to hear where you guys have left off, where you guys are really sitting on the fence as of now. If you're like, I think there really can be some validity into this Odinism and this cult sacrifice, or do you think it is just a defense strategy? Hey, ATS News, do you think it's just a defense strategy? Nisa, do you think it's just a defense strategy with sensationalism? We're going to go through an article, and then we're going to go through Richard Allen wanting the cameras in the courtroom. And I want to discuss a little bit of how that plays a contrast to the Kohberger case, because I do find it interesting. When you take the Delphi, when you take Richard Allen, and with Richard Allen, they're claiming that he is being treated horribly, right? And that he's basically thrown in a hole, locked away, not being fed, not being bathed. He looks disheveled, significant weight loss. Yet they're adamant to get those cameras in the courtroom, which makes sense to me, because when there is sketchy things going on, in my mind, you would want it streamed. You would want it televised, because especially if law enforcement or court prison officers, court officials are within this conspiracy, with doors being closed, what comfort is that? That means nobody's going to bear witness to the sketchiness and the shadiness going on. So cameras in the courtroom is what I would expect to see if there really was some shadiness going on. Yet we hear similar things happening in the Kohberger case. Defense is putting forward similar issues, similar arguments, yet they're moving to get the cameras out of the courtroom, which doesn't make sense, right? Actions don't align with the words, in my opinion. Hi, it's Mimi. Hi, Happy Check. I don't like it at all. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, Niece. We got to talk about it. I don't like it at all. I want the evidence on Richard Allen, not a smoke show. Yeah. I think it might have so truth. Defense can be disbarred for put out so type of accusations. I think it was set up to look that way. I am completely and totally on the fence about it all. See, this is interesting. So as far as I know, hi Shay, as far as I know, defense is not allowed to put out. Okay, so defense is allowed to raise reasonable doubt. Defense is allowed to kind of bend things, play word salad, create confusion. But as far as I know, defense isn't allowed to just throw out something based on nothing. So with an argument and accusations like this, it doesn't mean that it's true, versus they have at least something to base it on. I know, OCD. Okay, so here, let me pull up this article. This is from a couple of hours ago. We don't know this, the breaks. Hi, Angel D. We don't know. So we have the breaks, Richard Allen's defense team claiming that Richard Allen is not the killer of these girls. And they paint a really dark picture while revealing very gruesome details of these girls' murders that we never had light shed on before, including the way that their bodies were found, and what appeared to be a letter written in blood on the tree, and sticks found in very fixed positions on the bodies, and the fact that investigators had been looking into Odinists, a white supremacist cult, earlier on into the investigation and potential leads, but never followed through with it. And so basically they're now going back down that road and this avenue and raising that reasonable doubt of these 4 potential suspects. Well, as far as I know, Ashley, they have a picture of the bullet at the crime scene, and correct me if I'm wrong, they do not have a picture of the bullet as it is being removed from the crime scene, or once it had moved anywhere else from the crime scene. They do not have a picture of its measurements or anything like that. The only thing that they have of it is at the crime scene, meaning they are not able to confidently say without a doubt that the bullet at the crime scene is the same as the bullet that would eventually be linked to Richard Allen's gun. Hi, Lori. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that, those branches are obviously placed on those bodies. Now, we cannot determine, with the little information or the lack of information that we have, if they were placed really in this abnormal positioning the way that the defense portrays, versus if they were just half-assed thrown on the bodies as a way to like somewhat cover them, not fully cover them, but just somewhat cover them up. There may be no reasoning to the branches, but this is what I mean by, with the defense, they're going to word this to fit a narrative the same way that a PCA is going to word it to fit a certain narrative, right? So there may be more weight in certain things and there might be less weight in certain things. There may be more weight in the bullet and less weight in the branches. There may be more weight in the F marked in blood and less weight in this. You know what I mean? But I did see on a Court TV special, it was I forgot who it was. Shay, you'll probably know because I think you sent me the link. It was the woman who was from the podcast about the Delphi murders, and she had explained that this is information that she had heard very early on from insiders, and she had said that what she had heard from insiders differs slightly from what the defense is putting out now, and she had drawings. So she didn't hear that it was the letter F marked in blood on the tree versus kind of just more looking like blood spatter, but she had a sketch of it. I could try to go back and get it and show you guys, where it didn't really have any intention behind it. Like it didn't look like it was blood was used intentionally to make a letter or anything versus just there for I don't know what reason. And then the same thing with the branches, that it wasn't in any specific order versus on the body. Down the Hill podcast. I have to grab the screenshots. Yes, there is a crime scene picture of the letter F, Lori. Okay, so here, let me read this article. And thank you all so much for being here with me. I missed you all very, very much. It's lovely seeing all of you. Hello, Enigma. So it says, oh, Lori, thank you for being a member for 15 months. Oh, thank you, Shay. Shay just sent the photo so I could show you guys. Shay, you the bomb.com. Thank you very much. Okay, 1 second. Thank you, Angel, for being a member for a month. And thank you, Amber, for being a member for 21 months. And I think ATS News, you have a live scheduled on this topic too, right? When is it? While I'm cropping these photos so I could show you guys. Thank you, Hippie Chick, for being a member for 4 months, you guys. Thank you all so much for your support. It's very, very much appreciated. Okay, I'm almost done. Yes, I will absolutely be there. You guys, if you aren't already subscribed to ATS News, please go over and subscribe. She will be live tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. Eastern to discuss Delphi. I'm very excited to hear her thoughts on this. All right, so perfect. All right. Thank you, B Crumbs, for being a member for 5 months. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Awesome. I'm so excited to hear her thoughts. And thank you, Riddler, for being a member for 7 months. You guys are so sweet. Okay, so here we go. So it says, Delphi investigators' defense are twisting facts for sensationalism over cult sacrifice claims. And it says, a retired Indiana police officer cited in court documents by defense attorneys for the man charged in the Delphi murders is calling into question how his statements have been characterized by attorneys, suggesting the defense is twisting facts. Public defenders for Richard Allen, charged with the 2017 double murders of Abigail Williams and best friend Liberty Germain, have accused a white nationalist Odinist group of killing the girls in a ritualistic sacrifice. Defense attorneys Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin accused investigators of ignoring damning evidence pointing to the Odinists, a Norse religion hijacked by white nationalists, in a 136-page memorandum filed last week with the Carroll County Circuit Court. The memo cites the work of 3 Indiana law enforcement officers, Kevin Murphy, Greg Ferenczi, and Todd Click. According to the defense memo, Click was concerned that for some reason the leadership of the investigative team had failed to share with prosecutor McClelland the evidence gathered by Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy. Click's concerns led him to seek out a lawyer to assist him in the drafting of a letter. This letter was then sent to McClelland. In a footnote to the document, it states the certified letter was received on May 1st, 2023, and refers to a copy attached to the official filing, marked as Exhibit 3. This is what we're going to refer to as exculpatory evidence. Keep it as an example in regards to the Idaho 4 trial, okay? The fact that defense wasn't given this letter or aware of it is withholding exculpatory evidence. Rosie and Baldwin's memo further states that the defense was not made aware of this letter until after it was obvious from the last round of depositions that the defense would certainly be talking to Todd Click. The memo calls the letter exculpatory in nature. In a statement released to Court TV, retired Rushville, Indiana officer Todd Click writes, "No one in law enforcement believes Abby and Libby were killed in a ritual sacrifice. That is the defense twisting facts for sensationalism." Click did not agree to an interview, citing the gag order in effect on witness and investigators in the case. Allen, a former CVS worker in Delphi, was arrested and charged with the murders of Abby and Libby in October of 2022. He is being held in Westville Correctional Facility awaiting trial, scheduled January 2024. At the time of his arrest, prosecutor Nick McClelland and Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter indicated the investigation remained ongoing and other actors could be involved in the double murder that garnered international headlines when it happened. Public defenders Rosie and Baldwin have said their client is innocent, despite prosecutor McClelland stating in a recent court filing that Allen has confessed to the crime multiple times in recorded prison calls with his wife and mother, which, you guys, Richard Allen is claiming that the reason that he confessed is that he was threatened. He was threatened by these Odinite guards, so much to where these guards would walk him to and from his meetings with his lawyers and stand guard and watch his interactions with his lawyers, and would even make him sit facing the door so they could see his mouth. Now, if that is indeed true, that is a major issue. That is not allowed. Most lawyers will not even speak with their client if there is any guard or anybody visible near them. And this comes into question that issue we had heard about earlier regarding things being recorded. Hi, Miss Chronic Chronicles. Ah, yes, crime sleuthing. Yep. According to the defense memo, Click became concerned that the information contained in Richard Allen's affidavit, pointing the finger at Richard Allen, was far less compelling than the totality of the information that Detective Ferenczi, Detective Murphy, and Officer Click had accumulated during the Rushville portion of the investigation. At the time of the murders, Detective Greg Ferenczi was a detective with the Terre Haute Police Department assigned to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. Detective Kevin Murphy of Indiana State Police was also a member of that task force. Todd Click was an officer with Rushville Police. On July 7, 2021, Ferenczi, 50, was shot and killed outside the FBI building in Terre Haute. Shan Meehan is charged in that case. So Abby and Libby reported missing on the afternoon of Monday, February 13, 2017, after being dropped off at a local walking trail in rural community of Delphi, located more than 75 miles northwest of Indianapolis. Images posted by Libby to social media showed the historic Monon High Bridge and Abby walking across it. At that time, the bridge was an abandoned railroad trestle spanning Deer Creek, towering 63 feet above the water. The following day, the girls' bodies were found on the private property a quarter-mile away. Within days, investigators released a blurry image of a man wearing a blue jacket and jeans walking on the bridge and asked for the public's help in identifying him. Later, it was learned the image came from a short video clip found on Libby's phone that revealed the man was behind the girls and ordered them, guys, down the hill. Despite having video of the man that included his voice, the case went unsolved for nearly 6 years. Allen's defense is requesting a Franks hearing to determine if false or intentionally misleading statements in support of the search warrant require the suppression of the fruits of those searches. Allen's defense team is accusing current Carroll County Sheriff Tony Leggett of lying or misrepresenting facts to obtain the search warrant for Allen's home in October 2022. If defense counsel can convince Judge Fran Gull that then Deputy Leggett lied, the entire search and any evidence gathered during it could be deemed inadmissible. From publicly released documents in the case, we know that a .40 caliber unspent bullet was found near the bodies of Abby and Libby. The prosecution indicated the round was forensically determined to have been cycled through Richard Allen Sig Sauer model P226 pistol found at Allen's home during the search. If Allen's gun was recovered in an illegal search, any testing linking it to the crime scene could be tossed out. Judge Gull and prosecutor Nick McClellan have not responded publicly to the defense request for a Franks hearing or to the sensational claims contained in the memo supporting to the request. Okay, so what I want to show you guys is, again, on Court TV, the girl from Down the Hill podcast was a guest. And she came on right after this memorandum got released. And she explained that, listen, this is indeed things that she had heard from insiders as far as the crime scene and the way that the bodies were found. This is things that she had heard from her inside sources, except it did vary a little bit. And she shared with us You want to send it to me, Crime Sleuth? I have the article, but not. Okay, so this is the sticks that were found on Abby. This is the way that, thank you, Crime Sleuthin. This is how and the position the sticks on Abby were found. Which, again, it's really hard to look at it and determine, is this natural? Is this unnatural? Is this intentional? The way that the defense portrays it, of course, it seems very intentional, but I really don't think we could say that unless you see it in its original state. You know what I mean? And I also have questions as far as how they're able to determine that a branch looks like it wasn't broken off manually versus cut with like a potential saw. Thank you, Crime Sleuthin. Why isn't my Nightbot working? Shay, can you get Crime Sleuthin's link? Because my Nightbot's not working. I don't know why I keep having this issue. Thank you. Okay. Do I have it spelled it wrong, maybe? I might have it spelled wrong. But the same thing happened with Jules, too. My, Jules link didn't work last time, too. Really, Lori? Like a super chat? How rude. Thank you, guys. That's so weird, Lori. I don't know why. But thank you for trying. I don't know why. Like, if it's a super chat, I'm not sure why. So this is the position Abby's sticks were in. And this was Libby's, which, again, really hard to determine. Hi, just Anoki. Really hard to determine. Oh, Jules work. Thanks, Shay. Really hard to determine just looking at it like this. Is it natural? Is it unnatural? You can't. I don't feel comfortable saying one way or the other. Thanks, Meatfoot Test. That worked. Thanks, Michelle, for gifting 5 memberships. That worked. Thank you. That's really, really kind. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Tiffany. That's really nice of you. Okay. Okay. Again, I just do find it strange that they're able to determine because, okay, so what else she said was, hey, MK, what else she said is, as far as she knows, they did not take these branches with them as evidence, which is concerning. You would think that if these branches were found on these girls' bodies, they absolutely would collect the branches as part of evidence, wouldn't you think? Yet the woman from the podcast who had the inside information explained that they originally did not have the branches, but they had gone back later to try and collect them. But to me, that doesn't make sense, because how are you able to determine they're the same branches later on? Like, was the crime scene released at that point? Was it still under lockdown? Oh, Lori, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. That worked. Thank you. That was so kind of you. Thank you so much. That's concerning. Right, Ashley? Like, how do you know which branches are which? The FBI BAU report, before they even knew anything about any suspects or POI's connection to the case, immediately dated this was a ritual murder by person or persons familiar with Odinism. Right. Hi, Tonka girl. Yeah, I actually am going to pull that photo up, Crime Sleuth, and at the end of this, I have that photo too. I didn't pull it up the first live just because I'm not trying to be, I didn't know if the photo was, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I know I'm a visual learner and I know other people are a visual learner. So this channel just made basically stick figure representations of the victims and placed the sticks, well, the branches where they would be on the bodies, just so you could understand visually where it would be. I'm sure majority of you have seen it at this point, so I don't mind showing it now. But again, showing it, I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, versus visually, just so you can have an idea where the branches are in relation. Oh no, maybe not from the live today. Maybe it's from a different channel. Hi, Akasha. I'm talking about the, just never mind. Just never mind. Just don't listen to me. So this is the symbol allegedly found on the tree. Defense is saying that it is the letter F, even though the Down the Hill podcast lady, her sketch more so, if you imagine without the red F, if you look at just kind of like the blood spots, that's more what her sketch looked like. So we don't know if it was an actual F, you guys. That might be defense kind of pushing more. It's an F. It might just be, who knows. But what we do know is that there was blood on that tree. It was Libby's blood. MK. I know. How crazy is that, Enigma, that they did not originally take the branches. That is crazy to me, especially if this scene appeared to be staged in any way. Those branches are part of the crime scene. Why they wouldn't collect those branches, I do not understand. No, they did not take them as Chronicles. As far as, like I said, the Down the Hill podcast lady who spoke out on Court TV, she shared what her inside sources had shared with her. She had said that she had already known this information from a while ago through them. And she said that what she was told is that they did not collect the branches initially, that they had gone back later, a couple of weeks later, to collect them. Yeah, no, this isn't Enigma, correct. No, that Michelle, because again, it's not, they haven't even spoken out about it. It's just information that has come out through the sources. Yeah, who knows what it looks like. But that's the whole point, Enigma, right? I'm not jumping the gun as far as it even being the letter F. Especially if with what she's saying that it's more she wasn't told it was a letter F versus not really anything in particular at all, then it would make sense to me if defense is kind of like taking the marking on the tree and maybe pushing it to appear to I don't know what significance the letter F would be in the Odinism, but maybe it has significance. But I'm not anticipating like a straight up letter F. I know, Miss Chronicles. I know. So it says Libby's shoe and cell phone containing the bridge guy video were found under Abby's lower back, and a single bullet was found buried under the leaves and dirt between the two girls. So Libby was found nude. Abby was found wearing Libby's clothes. How crazy is it? Libby was found nude. Abby was found dressed in Libby's clothes. Libby had blood on her hands and her body. Abby did not. Her clothes were clean, indicating that she was dressed post-mortem. So blood spots and blood drippings seen all over Libby's body, but no blood sprayed or dripped onto the leaves or the tree near Libby's head and sliced neck. It may have Enigma, but I'm not jumping to it. That's my whole point, though. I'm not gonna sit here and say 100% yes, it's an F. I'm gonna wait until we have more definitive information. The blood and clothes really do throw me off. I want to know how many. Is there anybody in the chat who thinks that they were placed there after? And I'm not talking about they died close by and then moved. I'm talking about they were not at this location at all and then placed there at a later time. Oh, you were asking the same thing, Miss Chronicles? Hi, this Momo. Ah. There's 2 F's. One is signed at the bottom of the chant sung at the Disalbat ritual that sacrifices to the female spirits of whom Freya is the goddess warrior chief. Hi, Crime Curious. They were found the next day, Angie. You think so, MK? So 87, we don't know exact details. The only details we have ever known just got released through this memorandum. And what we do know as of now is that they both sustained a sliced neck. I think it implies other injuries due from a knife because it says the fatal wound. But they both had their necks sliced, unfortunately. It's a great question, Meatfoot. Yeah, exactly, Michelle. Where was the blood? Where's the blood? So Abby was found fully clothed but dressed in Libby's sweatshirt and jeans. Which again, when you think about the fact that this happened in the daytime in a very populated area, they were alerted that these girls were missing fairly quickly. So already it's like, holy crap, this was taking place with people nearby. But the idea that this killer was comfortable enough to undress the girls, kill them while they were naked, and then to take the time to dress them again post-mortem. Why? Ask yourself, why would a killer even risk? Right? Like, they could just leave at that point, but why take the additional time and risk the chance of getting caught by clothing one of the victims? What sense does that make? Maybe, Callie. So Abby was found wearing 2 bras. There was no blood on Abby's clothes. And there was very little blood on Abby's body apart from the fatal wound on her neck, which the defense puts forward this possibility that Abby was hung upside down when her neck was cut, hence the lack of blood. But they will be able to know that from autopsy. They will know absolutely if this victim was upside down at the time that her throat was cut. And Libby's phone and shoe were found under Abby's lower back. See, I don't know if it was any SA because they never disclosed it. So one man, 5'4" in stature, handled all of these tasks, from the abduction at the high bridge to the crossing over the cold flowing river to the subduing of one girl while the other is killed to the killing of the second girl, waiting while Abby died a slow death. Because unfortunately, Abby's injury was not quick. The vein that was severed, very sadly, was a slow bleed. Okay, Shay, I'll check it out. This was, which again, I'm not trying. This is from this guy's channel. Not trying to be disrespectful at all. But he made an animation of, he took the branches and the position that the victims' bodies were in and made a visual so you can see it, even though it doesn't feel nice. So, but so hold on, let me see what Shay has. I agree, Meatfoot. That's why I'm like, like I'm all for like a visual because like I'm a visual learner, but I just didn't like the way it looked. I don't know if that means, not trying to, it's his artwork, but it just looked dark, if that makes sense. I don't know. Court TV had one. I should have took a screenshot when Court TV did, because I think they had one also, yet it was just in a very generic, no detail type of way, and it was much better. Okay, Crime Sleuthin, thank you. It feels off, right, Callie Dent? That's why I'm like, I don't really want to show it. Okay. So Shay sent me this article from a year ago. That's what it was. Thank you. This is the one. Thank you, Shay. This is the one I liked. Okay. This is Court TV's. Court TV's was much better, in my opinion. Okay. See, much better, in my opinion. Very just black and white, no detail needed, but it gets the point across. So you could see Libby with her hand raised, touching against the tree. The branches in the V formation towards her pelvic area. But you could see that one branch that extends above her head and then below her feet. That's a huge branch. And then Abby with the branches, and then she has the branches that are above her head that's almost in the antler position. I agree with this, Momo. I like Vinny too, Michelle. So that's a visual representation for you guys for Abby and Libby and the way that the branches were positioned on their bodies. Yeah, okay. Hey, Harlot. So Shay sent me this article from a year ago. Excuse me. Whoops. I agree. 87. I think the branches were clearly put on them, but I think less likely in any specific intentional type of way, you know? So in this one, it says a search warrant reveals new details of the investigation of the murders of Abby and Libby. According to the search warrant, FBI agent wrote that she had probable cause to search Ron Logan's property in connection with the murders and believed evidence may have been there. They wanted to search Logan's home, outbuildings, and vehicles for anything pertaining to the teen's murder, including forensic evidence, hair, bodily fluids, guns, and cutting instruments. The FBI also sought electronic devices and storage media, according to the search warrant. Logan owned the property where the girls' bodies were found. Investigators conducted a search of the property on March 17, 2017. The warrant provides additional details about the investigation, some of which have remained unknown to the public. Evidence released to the public included a photo of the heavyset suspect. We know this. So the girls' bodies were discovered on property owned by Ron Logan about 1,400 feet from Logan's residence. A large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene, according to the search warrant. Because of the amount of blood, investigators believe the perpetrator would have gotten blood on their hands or clothing. The murderer likely took a souvenir from the crime scene, according to the document, and it appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. The redacted search warrant didn't specify what was missing and noted that the rest of their clothing was recovered. There was no signs of a struggle or fight. The agent suspected the murderer physically removed something or took photos to memorialize the crime scene. Crime scene investigators also recovered unknown fibers and unidentified hairs. Agent wrote that Logan's physical build appeared to be consistent with that of the man appeared on the video. Logan had lied about his alibi. Logan told investigators that a friend had picked him up from his home between 2 and 2:30. He contacted a family member on February 14th and instructed them to tell police about a trip. He also asked the family member to say that they returned home between 5 and 5:30. Just days after the murders, Logan led reporters on a tour of his property and took them to the crime scene. He said he'd lived on the property for about 50 years and couldn't fathom how the girls could have reached the area where they were found. Logan died in January. He had never been named a suspect or charged in the connections with the murders. It's interesting. Okay, let me try to... All right. So then we have the state's objection to defendant's motion to suppress. So on May 19th, the defendant filed a motion to suppress the evidence seized as a result of the search warrant executed on the home of Richard Allen. That on September 13th, the defendant filed an amended motion to suppress the evidence seized as a result of the search warrant executed on the home of the defendant. That the defense alleges that the search warrant is unconstitutional because the issuance of the search warrant was a result of an improper ex parte application in that the affiant, Sheriff Tony Leggett, failed to advise the judge of material faces and made false and misleading representations with reckless disregard for the truth, and that without these false and misleading representations and omissions, the search warrant would not have been issued. That is commonly referred to as Franks versus Delaware. That per the Franks case, the defense's attack must be based on deliberate falsehood or acts of reckless disregard for the truth, and that those allegations must be accompanied by an offer of proof. That the claim should point out specifically the portion of the warrant affidavit that is claimed to be false, accompanied by a statement of supporting reasons. That the defense has filed such a memorandum outlining their beliefs or what was omitted and false. That once again, while the memorandum is colorful, dramatic, and highly unprofessional, it is not completely true. That the state believes the allegations outlined by the defense are not supported by evidence that they have collected. That Sheriff Tony Leggett did not intentionally or recklessly omit evidence or lie about evidence in the probable cause affidavit. Defense also alleges that the search warrant was unreasonable under the Indiana and federal constitution in that it lacked probable cause, and it failed to establish that the items to be seized were in the residence or could be expected to be in the residence. that in September 2022, while reviewing the evidence in the investigation in the murders of Abby and Libby, investigators discovered an interview that was done with Richard Allen. That in 2017, Richard Allen admitted being on the trail the day that Abby and Libby went missing. That he stated that he was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30, and that while he was on the trail, he was using his phone. That on October 13th, 2022, investigators invited Richard Allen and his wife, Kathy, to speak to them and follow up on that interview. Both Richard and Kathy came to the interview on their own on October 13th. They were not under arrest and were free to leave the interview at any time. Investigators learned from those interviews that Richard reaffirmed that he was in fact on the trails the day that Abby and Libby went missing and further admitted to being on the High Bridge. He also told investigators he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black car hat jacket with a hood and that he was wearing a head covering. Richard stated that he did own guns and that his guns were in his home. Investigators learned from Kathy that Richard still had guns and knives in the home along with his jacket. Investigators believed a firearm was involved in the abduction and murder of Abby and Libby because an unspent .40 caliber round was found between their bodies. Investigators believe a knife was used in their murders. The clothes that Richard described wearing the day he was on the trails matched the description of Bridge Guy. It was also gathered that Richard still possessed the firearms, knives, and clothing, and said items were in his house. Based on this information, investigators prepared a probable cause affidavit for the home of Richard. The probable cause affidavit covers all of the information that law enforcement had gathered in the investigation in regards to Richard up until October 13, 2022. The probable cause affidavit outlines evidence that establishes probable cause to search the home of Richard Allen. Investigators applied for search warrant on October 13, 2022, and the same was granted the day by Carroll County Circuit Court Judge Benjamin Denier. Investigators went to the residence of the defendant, knocked on the door, and executed the search warrant. Defendant and his wife were asked to be out of the residence while it was executed. Investigators found several items in the residence, including the .40 caliber firearm, electronic devices, all outlined in the search warrant. That for the search warrant to be valid, it must be accompanied with an affidavit. Indiana code specifies the minimum information necessary to establish probable code, which is as follows: XYZ. The evidence needs to obtain a search warrant need not to rise the statute of facts necessary to obtain a conviction, XYZ. That when the sufficiency of the search warrant is challenged under the Fourth Amendment by the defendant, as it is in the defendant's motion, the role of the reviewing court is to simply ensure that there was a substantial basis for finding probable cause. Okay. Under Article 1, Section 11 of the Indiana Constitution, the reasonableness of the search is determined by using the Litchfield test. That the inquiry requires a balancing of the degree of concern, suspicion, or knowledge. That the state believes the affidavit does not meet the threshold to establish probable cause. The state believes the affidavit accompanied with the search warrant for the home of Richard Allen does establish probable cause. That the state believes the affidavit establishes the items to be seized were in the residence by statements made by Richard Allen and his wife. That the state believes that the affidavit provides particular information that particular items related to a particular crime will be found in the home based on statements by Richard and his wife. State believes the affidavit connects generic items to actual items that were possibly used in the crime based on investigators' evidence that they gathered throughout the investigation. Evidence that was gathered in 2017 was reaffirmed by the interview done by Richard Allen and his wife. Investigators believed at the time that they had probable cause to apply for a search warrant. If they did not execute a search warrant on the residence immediately, that there was a danger that the defendant would destroy crucial evidence in the investigation. They believed through their training and experience that there was a real chance that the defendant would destroy evidence once he knew he was a suspect in the crime. The state has shown that the actions by the officers were valid and justified and did not violate the defendant's Fourth Amendment under the United States Constitution. The end. So that was their response. Okay. It's interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? And then there's this. Hold on. So it says prosecutors claim allowing cameras in Richard Allen's case will create circus atmosphere. So prosecutors say that allowing cameras in court for the high-profile Delphi murder trial risks creating a circus atmosphere where 15-second video clips could give an inaccurate impression of the justice system. This comes after Richard Allen asked the judge to allow cameras in court for all future proceedings. Allen's lawyers argued that allowing cameras will ensure fairness, reduce the risk of unpredictable witness behavior, and boost the public's trust in the judicial system, which is the complete opposite of what Kohberger's attorneys are arguing. Isn't that funny? On Monday, the News Media Coalition submitted a request to broadcast to the Carroll County Circuit Court. The request asks the court to allow the broadcasting, televising, recording, digital streaming, and photographing for all future court proceedings in the Allen case. In a response and objection filed Monday, prosecutors expressed serious concerns to the request to the broadcast. The prosecution's objection and response address a 136-page document filed by Allen's lawyers on September 18th, which claims Abby and Libby were killed by Odinists. Prosecutor claims that only 13 of those pages were relevant to the case, and that the remaining 90% outlines its fanciful defense for social media to devour. In the objection, prosecutors also claim that the documents are colorful, dramatic, and high unprofessional. Additionally, prosecutors claim that broadcasting court proceedings may become distracting and lists several supporting arguments for this claim, including the number of media outlets that may request access to the broadcast, the fact that the judge is an unfamiliar courtroom, the length and complexity of the case, the duty to protect the jurors' identities, and the sensitive content that will be presented at the trial and pretrial hearings. In their response, prosecutors state that they do not agree with the defendant's argument that the cameras in the courtroom will reduce unpredictable behavior from witnesses. The state believes that having cameras in the courtroom will give participants in the courtroom nationwide platform to further their own agenda to build their brand, promote whatever platform they want, and generally showboat instead of focus on presenting the evidence in professional, concise manner, their response states. Prosecutors say that they trust the court will rule in the best interests of justice, but to consider these points when making its decision on whether or not to broadcast future pretrial and trial hearings. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that if the defendant wants cameras in the courtroom, that they should allow it? That would be nice to know, Shay. That's what I say, Crime Sleuth, and I think that every courtroom should be should have fixed cameras installed by the court, like just one fixed camera controlled by the court, and then whether or not the court gives access to the media, specific links, but that way the court controls where the shot is, no zooming in, they have control over it. But I think, Oh, well, thank you, Trish. Well, we're happy to have you. Thank you for speaking. Thank you so much. Yeah, Angel. Well, I think it speaks volumes when, listen, all I know is this, and I know I can't compare my little experiences with life to a damn murder trial. I'm aware of that. But the only thing I can speak on is my little experiences in life. So I'm going to refer to those. And when it comes to telling the truth about something, all I can say is, especially if you're being accused of something you didn't know, something you didn't do, you want transparency because you are eager to prove and clear your name. And especially if there is such corruption and shadiness and fear instilled to the point where you are confessing to murders you did not commit. Oh, well, absolutely that too. And that's a great point, Enigma. So that's the opposing part. So if a defendant is okay with having everything streamed, then there's the opposition. What if the family want? But we already kind of have that answer, Enigma, when it comes to the families, because look at what and I'm just going to use the Koberger trial, right? You have the families who, well, the victims can't speak for themselves, but the victims' families, right? And they say, we want it streamed. We want those cameras in there. And they don't listen to them. Exactly, Jeff. Exactly. Your actions aren't lining up with your words. You're saying one thing, but your actions are doing another. Yeah, but the live tweeting is not the same, Angel, as seeing it for yourself and having a direct source for the information. Okay, Lori, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for gifting the memberships. It was lovely. Listen, there obviously issues come with everything. Nothing, doesn't come without issues. But I'd like to think transparency is always the better option. I'm always going to go for transparency being the better option than not. I don't know how I feel about the Odinites. Hi, Addicted to Art and Crime. I think if this really was a cult, was it just one person? Was it multiple people in a cult? Why would they choose this time of the day? I have a lot of questions. Right, Enigma. Right. Yes, Texas Ranger. That's true. This is the defense's version, and just like the PCA is going to be a narrative that's built around the defendant, the defense is going to build their narrative with exculpatory evidence, right? The symbolism of being found on the banks of Deer Creek, and the searcher thought he saw 2 deer and walked up on the bodies. Just wow, right? That's what it is, Angel. It's going to be biased reporting. I don't want people to tell me what's happening through their eyes and their interpretation. I want to, again, I'm a visual learner. I can say the same sentence that Shay says, yet people will interpret the way I say it completely differently than the way Shay says it. It's the same sentence on paper, right? It's the same sentence, yet it all is determined based on the delivery. So if I'm reading a transcription of what took place, that's really not going to tell me anything, because I need to see it, I need to experience it, I need to hear it, I need to watch it, I need to see body language to really absorb what's taking place. Not just read on a piece of paper what took place or be tweeted what took place. Right. And like, was it one? Was it a group of them? If it's a group of them, why would they choose such a bad time to go out and do this? If it was just one of them, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't really make sense to me. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, we always knew the details of this case were going to be haunting, and we didn't even get them all yet. We just got like a little light shined on them. But they're horrible. They're horrible, and they're evil, and I just feel so horrible for their families. I can't imagine what these parents have gone through. Just pray for them. Well, and that's what it is, Enigma. I don't do good with the just put blind trust in the system and with anything, really. I would like to see it for myself. And again, especially when people are screaming corruption and conspiracy and shadiness going on, I'd like an open door so we could have a peek inside. But I'd like to know, but this is where we need the rest of the details. We need to know, where was the blood? Where was the original spot that they had been killed? Was it nearby? Is there no indication that they were killed near the spot that the bodies were recovered. Yeah, Tree Baby, Tennessee. Hey, Delana. I think this is going to be a real interesting one to see how this plays out. But the bullet, those are some issues so far. To say that there has been no photographs of that bullet being recovered, no photographs of that bullet being transported, no photographs of that bullet being measured, then how are you able to determine that that bullet is confirmed to be the same one that would be later connected to Richard Allen's gun? Yeah, that was in the memorandum, Texas, yeah. It specifically said that there was only the photographs of the bullet at the crime scene, but the moment that it was being recovered, nothing. No photographs, nothing. No measurements, nothing. No photographs of the bullet being picked up, moved, nothing. So there's no way to confirm that that is the same bullet that they later linked to Richard Allen. Where is the chain of custody? With that, and the same thing with the branches. Why weren't the branches collected? If these branches were placed on top of these victims' bodies and they were found with these branches staged like that, why weren't the branches collected? You go back weeks later and hope to find the same fucking branches? No. Yeah, Shay. I heard that. Yeah, that what they believe is a gun clicking in the video. That the man may have used a gun to subdue the girls. And in the video, it sounds like what they believe is a gun clicking. Yeah, correct. And they didn't even remove the bark with the F on it. They didn't, where the blood was, the marking on the tree, guys, they didn't even remove the bark. Like, they tested that it was blood, but they didn't even remove it. Well, and that's what I was saying, Crime Sleuth, based on what? So what were they basing this off? Did it look like that? Like, did they have the branch? Or are you basing this off like a photo? Like, what are you basing this off of? Absolutely, Tree Baby, Tennessee. They should have been. Well, even if they didn't see it as significance in their positioning, Jeff, they should have taken it in as evidence because they were on top of their bodies, you know? Right, Crime Sleuth, but what are they basing that off of? Are they basing Perfectly Smooth based on observing of a photo? I find it hard to believe that you're going to bring, like, what? Because Crime Sleuth, and then I have to ask the question, well, how fucking big were these branches that you would even need a damn electric saw to cut them. You know what I mean? It's just so weird. That's why we need more information. Again, even with all the new details that have come out, we have to understand some are going to be skewed with the narrative that the defense is pushing. But all right, guys, I'm going to hop off for tonight, but I appreciate you guys all being here. I very much missed all of you. I'm sorry that I haven't been around much lately, but I will be on tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to be discussing, but just keep an eye out. I will schedule something, and I will definitely keep you guys posted with any developments regarding this case. We're definitely going to go deep down this rabbit hole, and we're going to stay on top of this one. So thank you all so much for being here with me. I had a very good time. Thank you for anybody who had gifted memberships or sent a super chat. Your support means very much. And I will see you all tomorrow. So have a wonderful evening.